Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of Focus on Life Radio. I'm your host, Gubenski. Today we are discussing a very important issue, the Human Health and Services Mandate. In late January, the administration informed Cardinal Timothy Dolan of the Archdiocese of New York, who also serves as the president of the USCCB, that Catholic institutions had a year to implement an insurance plan which would cover contraception, abortifacients, and sterilization. If that seems a little fishy to you, don't worry, you're not alone. You didn't hear me incorrectly. That was not static interference. That is exactly what I said. The current administration told the USCCB that the Church in America has 1 year to adopt medical plans to cover and pay for products and procedures against which the Church has fought for years. Let that sink in, people. The U.S. government, which has existed for 220 some years, which is currently being led by an administration that has been in power for only 3 years, is commanding that a 2,000-year-old institution abandon one of its strongest positions, the position it takes concerning the sanctity of human life and the sanctity of the complete mutual gifts of self between a married couple. If that sounds harsh to you, don't worry. The administration is giving them an entire year to change, okay? Plenty of time. And so then on February 10th, after a lot of discussion, arguments, responses from bishops and people all over the country, on February 10th, the president addressed the nation and announced that in an act of pure benevolence, the administration would be making an accommodation to appease the USCCB. President Obama said that the Catholic institutions would no longer be forced to pay for products and procedures it finds offensive. He did not, however, remove the coverage of sterilizations, contraception, and abortifacients from the mandate. He said that insurance companies would pay for it. I personally thought after watching the press conference live that the administration is banking on the USCCB or any Christians or anyone with a conscience to not know how insurance, business, or even money works. A company is in business not to employ people or even provide a product or service in which it can be proud. Businesses exist to make money. When a company's taxes or costs go up, they pass them along to the consumer. No matter how indirectly it may be, Catholics and all people working for a culture of life will still be single-handedly paying for these things which they despise to their very cores. I was pretty angry about this so-called appeasement, and the word appeasement in itself is offensive. It implies that people are just being immature about the issue. His Excellence Archbishop Chaput said that he was insulted by the compromise, and in a talk he had earlier on January 22nd, he said the following: "I want to talk this morning about the kind of people we're becoming and what we can do about it. Catholics need to wake up from the illusion that the America we now live in is somehow friendly to our faith. And what we're watching emerge in this country is a new kind of paganism, an atheism with air conditioning and digital TV, and it is neither tolerant nor morally neutral." So, the America end quote. That was what he said. I think he sums it up brilliantly, that the culture is moving away. The culture does not agree. It does not want this culture of life that we are pushing. They don't see the importance that we have in our religious freedom. Not, just freedom to worship as we choose. Communists can do that. We have freedom of religion. We have the freedom to practice and uphold our moral beliefs. And so many people are getting in the fight. 100 cities across the country or so are having a rally for religious freedom. We're having one here in Birmingham. And just so you know, it's not just Catholics that are concerned about this. Like I said, anybody with a conscience, Christians of all types, business owners who may not, want their money to go to abortifacients or sterilizations, there's no reason for the government to be paying for such things. They've said before I welcome our very special guest on, I just want to make one point. They've been telling pro-lifers for years, stay out of my uterus. And that is exactly what we're trying to do with this. But we try to get out, and they keep pulling us back in. And so now I'd like to welcome our very special guest, Sarah Howard, who has had a pivotal role in helping to organize the Birmingham Rally for Religious Freedom. Thank you for being with me, Sarah.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank you. So, for the listeners, when is the rally? Where is the rally? What is this? Tell me.
It's the Stand Up for Religious Freedom Rally, and it's a national movement, really. It was started by Eric Scheidler with Pro-Life Action League, and when this mandate went through in January, I mean, we mobilized pretty quickly, and what they were shooting for, what Eric said he was shooting for was at least 50 cities, and right now there's over 120 cities that are going to be involved. So ours is going to be in front of the Hugo L. Black Courthouse. It's going to be at noon on Friday, noon to 1. It's a very short rally, as rallies go. And Bishop Baker will be coming to speak. We'll have other speakers there as well. But we're really encouraging my own organization, CEC for Life. We're based here in Birmingham, and we really are encouraging an ecumenical gathering because, like you said, it's not a Catholic issue. And what the government is trying to do is they're trying to frame the argument so that it's about conception, because they know if they do that, they can pit the American people against the Catholic Church. They can make it look like this is just the Catholics pushing their agenda. And it's not. It's the government taking away our religious freedoms for everybody. And although Catholic institutions are affected more directly because they have taken such a strong stance, every other religious institution will be affected. A Baptist hospital will be affected. A Methodist hospital will be affected. It doesn't matter. The problem isn't that they want to take out what Catholics are doing. It is that they are trying to remove the conscientious objection. So any employer, even if they weren't a Christian, if they just had a moral objection, it wouldn't matter. And that's what we're standing against. We're standing against the fact that this is our religious freedom. This is our freedom of speech. This is what our country was founded on. And you can't just expect that we're just going to sit back and let you take it away from us. Like, that's not what America's about. So this grassroots movement, I mean, it's just grown. It's incredible. And Eric at Pro-Life Action League, they've been incredibly helpful. Like, I mean, they've put out press release templates. They've sent out signs. I mean, like, they've done conference calls. Like, they mobilized so quickly and made it so easy for anybody to join in because it's so important. And so, like, Americans have really, like, I mean, millions of Americans have already opposed this mandate, and we're expecting a really good turnout nationwide.
That's absolutely wonderful. And I do want to stress so much that, like I said, we're not alone in this fight. It's not just Catholics. You yourself are not Catholic. You talk about the ecumenism, and I think I remember reading an article that you said that the CEC doesn't exactly have an official stance on some forms of contraception?
We have an official stance on abortifacients. Anything with an abortifacient, we do not condone. But we're a younger denomination, in all honesty, and so one of the things about this mandate has been that our own patriarch has really been able to bring that to the forefront of our churches and say, hey, what do we think about contraception? And it's actually started a really good conversation within the Charismatic Episcopal Church, but we don't have an official stance like the Catholic Church has against all contraception.
Yeah, and I read that article from your patriarch, and I thought he did. It's really great that it's coming to the forefront. It does affect so many things, other, even outside of the life issues, like I mentioned before. What is marital love, and all that. But anyway, getting back to the culture of life and what this is now. I've heard that Bishop Baker and Father Kevin Basil will be speaking. What other sorts of things are on the agenda? And I'm sorry, could you repeat the time also of the event?
Yes, the time is noon to 1 on Friday, March 23rd, in front of the Hugo Black Courthouse. It's on 5th Avenue North in Birmingham. As far as the rest of the agenda, we're having the bishop speak. He's our keynote speaker. And then we'll have a lot of other people speaking. We have Jim and Joy Pinto, Pastor Paul Lett. He's from Harvest Center Church in Pell City. We have Bob Faust. He's from the Alabama Pro-Life Coalition Education Fund. And then we also have Paul Hughes with the Birmingham Prayer Furnace and a couple of other people as well, all from different backgrounds. So we'll have some worship. We'll sing some hymns. We'll have balloons and stuff that we can pass out to kids that are passing by, and we're gonna have literature that we can give people, give them a couple of basically call to actions. My director, Father Terry Gensimer, he'll be emceeing, so he'll be running everything. And it's like I said, it's only an hour, so I would really encourage people to be very prompt in showing up, but to also just expect it'll be kind of a whirlwind, because an hour really isn't that long to have people speak. And we just want to rally support. Like, we just want people to be aware that this is this is historical. Like, it's so incredibly important that you be involved in your government and in your country, because if you don't, they will do what they want to do. And the wonderful thing about America is that we have the ability to speak. So what we're hoping to do is to build support. We're hopefully going to do a series of rallies. Hopefully there'll be more of this. There'll be more activism that can be done, because we need to make sure that the Obama administration knows that this is not okay. And it's a lot easier to do that when you go stand in front of your courthouse than it is for you to stay home and watch it on TV. Absolutely.
And, you mentioned just the American aspect, and we have the rights. I'm thinking 20 years ago, if we had, if we grabbed our little time machine and we went back and we told somebody, hey, 2012, the U.S. government is going to try to impose something on a major religious institution that it is so completely against, and on all private business and other associations, they would just laugh. That's so not what America is about. And, we're letting things slip, whether it's complacence or just not knowing that things are going on, or just not knowing how to do anything about it. Well, this is something that we can do about it. This, and writing our legislators, being out there together in prayer with other people who are supporting the same values, and really just feeling crushed by what the government is trying to do here.
And one of the most important things that people can do is to be informed. And that's what this rally is partially about as well, is informing people, because the other side is trying to frame a debate. It's all about rhetoric. The entire pro-abortion fight, they're all about rhetoric, and this is just another part of it. And they will frame the debate to make you think it's about contraception, and it is not. It is about your religious freedom, and you need to be aware of that and get resources. If you go to the website, standupforreligiousfreedom.com, you can get resources that help you literally talk to your friends. I mean, speak to people about it. That's how you get things changed. You can't just stay silent. And there's other things you can do as well. If you go to one of the things we're encouraging people to do is call the Capitol switchboard. And if you go to congress.org, and the number is actually on our handout, but if you go to congress.org, you can look up, if you don't know who your senators and representatives are, you can look them up by your district, and you call that number and you ask for them and you tell them, we do not want this mandate. And it's important. Like, you really do have a voice, and you should utilize it. As a Christian, you should utilize it, and as an American, you should utilize it.
Absolutely. And you definitely bring up the need for a call to action. Go tell your friends, everyone in your family, get them off the cell phone, off the Facebook and the Angry Birds. Tell them that this is going on. This is crucially important to the history of America and, Christianity in America, anyone with a conscience. Now, I was wondering, because, hanging out with a bunch of young people who may or may not agree with us on this, they say, that they're against war, personally against war, and the government pays out the wazoo for that. And so paying for something in which you disagree is just part of being an American. How do you respond to that?
Well, I don't agree with that. Because I know that my tax money goes to Planned Parenthood, and I have a problem with that. And I will fight until the day I die to make sure, or to try to make sure, that that doesn't happen. And, we're a very complacent people, and you shouldn't just sit back and say, well, I just accept this. It is what it is. I don't want it to happen, but it's happening, and the government's too big to fight. That attitude does not encourage change, and that attitude is what they're banking on. They're hoping that you'll do that. And this mandate, it would be like if somebody walked down the street from your house, just walked down knocked on your door and said, hey, go buy my birth control. Go buy my birth control for me this month. Would you feel responsible for buying that? I mean, it's not even a necessary medicine. And so it's like, just don't accept it just because you think you can't change it. There are things that you can do. There is a voice that you have, and that is what this rally is very much about.
Absolutely. And you bring that up. Paying, it comes down again to paying for other people and their choices. Sort of funding their personal choices, whether they be proper choices, sinful choices. It's not our responsibility to finance your debauchery or whatever, or even a just medical prescription for these things. There are tons of reasons why someone would be prescribed such a thing, but I was saying before the show, the administration is trying to talk out of both sides of its mouth, telling the world that, contraception is so expensive, people can't pay for it and all that. But when talking to the people who are complaining about having the charges adjusted so that they're paying them, say, oh no, it's really not that expensive, it's not that bad. So, well, people don't think it through to say, well, if it's not that expensive for me to pay for it, I'm paying for, tons of medical, stuff or whatever. Why is it, if it's not that expensive, why don't they just pay for it?
Right. They want you to believe that there's a need for this mandate. And so they'll throw any statistic they can at you. I mean, the doctors that made up the statistics for the Roe v. Wade case years later, they said, no, Dr. Gerald, he said, no, I made that number up on the way into the courtroom. I mean, to trust that just because they gave you a statistic that it's true, I mean, call me paranoid, but they're really good at framing debates. And so that's what they do. They make it look like, no, this is vital. This is so important. But what it does is it basically treats pregnancy as a disease. It treats a child in the womb as a disease by saying, no, birth control is absolutely necessary. It's a medical necessity. Well, medical necessities treat diseases, and pregnancy is not a disease. Pregnancy is something that you very much have, except in maybe a few cases, you have a lot of control over whether or not you're pregnant. And so to try to sell it to us on that point and say that you have to pay for this because women across the nation, they don't have access to birth control. Well, for one, that's incorrect. They do have access. And then two, if they don't have access, that is not a medical necessity that I'm required to pay for. It just simply isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Allergies. Crazy this time of year. But, yeah, that's what it comes down to. And in my anger, I sort of forgot, the real issue anyway. We're not saying, we don't want, the church isn't saying, we don't want you to, experience, we don't want to limit you, or, we're not trying to limit people with these sort of things when the church says, this is immoral, that's immoral, we're not going to do this. We're not limiting you. What it's really about is what it really does. The getting down to the very basics, it's interfering with the human life that's been created.
And it's cheapening it. It's taking away the value. And what a lot of nations today believe, that I think one of the biggest lies that we can believe is that controlling your birth rate equals prosperity. And that if you can have a smaller population through the means of abortion, contraception, if you can do that this will make your country more prosperous. And I believe 100% Barack Obama believes that. And that isn't true because although it might help you maybe gain wealth, it completely cheapens the value of life. And it's like, well, which would you rather have? Would you rather have a nation that believes in the value of life, that believes pregnancy is good, that has a healthy understanding of the sanctity of life? Or would you rather have an empty, hollow nation that just happens to have more money than the other nations?
Absolutely. And, the administration has been limiting children really to the position of statistics. Catherine Sebelius, in her follow-up to the president's speech on February 10th, said that the increase of, or the decrease in births would actually make up for the cost to everyone who'd be paying for it.
Oh, right, yeah. So really, they're like, really, we're not really paying for it because we'll just limit our births, and that's the thing. They think that if they have birth control, that they'll save money because you won't have to go through all the financial stuff that would involve a woman having a 9-month pregnancy. That it's far cheaper for her to have access to abortion and access to contraception, and that way we're just going to save all this money. And it's just a lie, because no matter what you say about that, it's still killing a life. It's still degrading the sanctity of life. And that's, to me, unacceptable. I will not accept that as an American citizen or as a follower of Christ.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the problem is, it's been degraded, for her to get to the point where, sacrificing children for money, think about, you won't have to put them through public education, pay for their future medical expenses. Well, that's part of humanity, or, well, it's just something that comes along with it. You can't, and all of that isn't worth, somebody's life. That's what it really boils down to. The fact that, unfortunately, we have already lost that sanctity of life when people are just limited to the realm of being statistics. It's like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Life is Beautiful. It's about pre-World War II Italy, and they were at a dinner table discussing things, and they were talking about math problems that they were giving to 10-year-olds about how much the government would save if they just eliminated the expenses of taking care of the mentally handicapped.
And that's exactly what Hitler did with the Nazi youth. He did the exact same thing. He put that into the school systems. And it's just, as a Christian, like, the reason we got to that point, how we ended up here, where we are, I feel, is that a large majority of the church sort of took a back seat and sort of didn't speak up, in the 70s and stuff, when abortion was coming to the forefront and it was being legalized and stuff. I feel like a large portion of the church, not the Roman Catholic Church, you guys have always been really strong on it, but we really kind of let it go. And this is one of those times where you can't let it go. Look at what happened the last time nobody spoke up. Like, that's how we got here. And it's unacceptable anymore. Like, you can't do that anymore. We have to, as a church, we have to be the light in the darkness. That is what we are called to do. We are followers of Christ. Coming to this rally isn't just a political demonstration. It's standing up as the church and saying, we believe in the sanctity of life, and we believe in the freedom of religion, and we believe that our Creator gave us rights that we are entitled to, that he awarded to us. And I mean, coming to a rally like this, that's what you're doing. It's not just, it's so important and so vital right now. Like, it's such a historic time. And I mean, people should be excited about it. Like, come and do it. Be a part of something big. I think everybody wants to do that deep down inside.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to do, great things with love, or even, as Mother Teresa says, do little things with great love. And just being there, your presence is great. Now, you reminded me of a quote from an address that Archbishop Chaput gave, and I don't know if anyone can tell, but I'm kind of a fan. He was giving a speech at Assumption College, and he was talking about the new direction in which America is going, and how, Americans used to have that, or American Christians really used to have that fire, inside of us, and that really attracted people. And there was no need really to have Christianity in the founding documents because, well, that was such a vital part of people's lives. And he's talking about this new America that's being made that I was mentioning earlier that is, just against Christianity. And he says, we can blame the mass media or the academy or science or special interest groups for the environment we now face, but we Christians, including we Catholics, helped create it with our eagerness to fit in, our distractions, and overconfidence, and our own lukewarm faith. Nobody converted anybody with a ho-hum attitude about the gospel. You have to be on fire with these things. And this is an opportunity to sort of stoke the embers a little bit and get out there and, just show that this is not something for which we will just stand. We can't just sit by like we've done for so many years with our, as he said, eagerness to fit in, distractions, overconfidence, and our lukewarm faith.
I completely agree. Even not even in just the Roman Catholic Church, but in Protestant churches, we have this desire, especially the generation that's coming up. We have this desire to not argue with anybody. We have this desire to tolerate, and that's not what the gospel is. The gospel flies in the face of everything the world believes. And if you're a follower of Christ, you're a carrier of the gospel, and you are required to go out and to say, no, I won't let this happen. Like I won't let you take away my freedoms, and I won't let you take away the sanctity of life. Like, I'm going to stand up, and you do that with the power of God. You don't do it violently. You don't do it in anger. You do it in love and compassion, and you do it out of love for the Father, love for following after Christ. And I mean, that's the heart of it. That's the heart of everything, in my opinion, for activism, pro-life work. That's where the heart should be. And if the church could just get there, if they could just realize how important it is, what life-giving words that you're saying to people, then I think that everyone would get out in the streets.
Absolutely. And, like St. Paul says, love has to be the motivating factor.
Right.
I can do so many things, so many amazing things, but without love, they're absolutely nothing. And, well, we're coming in the home stretch here, and so let's get the information out one more time.
Friday, March 23rd, noon to 1, in front of the Hugo Black Courthouse on 5th Avenue North. Stand Up for Religious Freedom rally. Please come.
Absolutely. Definitely be there. We'll be there. It'll be a great opportunity to stand with people who believe just as you do. And I want to thank you all for listening. Viva Cristo Rey. And I'm going to end with one thing from Archbishop Chaput again. Jesus said, I came to cast fire upon the earth, and would that it were already kindled. Our task is to start that blaze and then help it grow. Thank you so much for listening. God bless. I'll see you on Friday.
The United for Life Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that works in ecumenical